We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships.
This is the Couples Academy Show.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? You are watching Ask the Experts. My name is Lakeisha Hines, and to my left,
I'm Jeff.
And to my right,
Walter Jennings.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you logged in right at 9:30, you saw that there is an Unearthed retreat coming up. We have been talking about this Unearthed retreat. I'm super excited, not because I'm going to be there, but because this is something that's going to be amazing for the women of Couples Academy: healing, transformation, activities, food, and more food. I don't know if you all know, but I love food, and we're going to have a lot of it. The ladies have definitely been putting together some wonderful things. Danielle, man, our fearless leader, has put together such an amazing agenda and itinerary for you guys. And when I tell you, it is going to be beyond what you can even imagine in your mind. So if you have not gotten a ticket, it's not too late. We have like a couple seats left. So go ahead and log on to couplesacademy.org and check out that Unearthed retreat. And I would love to see you there. So how we doing today, fellas? How you guys feeling? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
I'm down here. I'm actually down in your neck of the woods.
I was just going to say, Jeff, I know you're feeling real good. Or at least you should be.
Right.
Yeah. I'm down in your neck of the woods. I got to get out there to Tampa, though. Orlando is not that far.
Yeah, you need to come see. Willie and I, Walter and Charmaine are here too. So we need to like double date this thing. Well, actually, it will be a triple date, right? Because your beautiful wife is there with you as well. So make it happen, Jeff. Make it happen.
All right. We're going to work it out.
All right. So good morning to everybody who's watching. I see Vashawn. Vashawn's early, you guys, like literally every week, like Vashawn is here. So we thank you for that. Hey, Lisa, you guys drop where you are watching from, where you are streaming from. We would love to hear from you. And this is Ask the Experts. And as of right now, we don't have any questions. So apparently you don't have anything to ask us. So this will be a short show today.
You know what the rule is.
Like really, but every week, right? And I know we say this all the time because you guys do it all the time. You wait until we have 5 minutes left. Jeff is in Florida. He's enjoying this beautiful sunshine. He cannot wait to get to the beach. Like, don't give him a reason to log off early, people. Come on. We need your questions. So we're going to take a break. And on the other side of this, let's hear from you. And if you don't have anything today, that's cool. Just say hey and we'll say bye. All right, so we'll take a quick break. And again, we will see you guys in a few minutes. Drop those questions.
If you're a man and you have a pulse, then you need to join this program. You're a husband, you're a father, you're a leader. You have the weight of the world on your shoulders. You have to be everything for everyone, but do you know who and how to be for you? You're still in search of your own significance. You're in internal battle with your own vices. You're questioning, do I even know what it means to be a man? I know I'm supposed to be there for others, but what about me? The fact is, you need a model. You need a code to live by, a system of principles to govern your life. You need an internal compass to guide your every decision. You need the 4 securities to build your own kingdom. What you need is the Foundry. In short, a foundry is a facility where castings are produced by melting metal, pouring liquid metal into a mold, and then allowing it to solidify. Well, this is where we're testing the metal of men. Foundry is a 12-week men's-only coaching program. It is a brotherhood that will take each man through a purification process of the heart, mind, and soul. We here at Couples Academy promise you that if you give us 12 weeks of your life, you will no longer recognize it. If you care about the improving of your life, your marriage, and your family, register today.
KW, Cali Power Couple from California, Michelle, Tori, Keisha, Team Smith in the house always, Shalise, Debbie, and Jody, Terry, Mary, welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. You know, we just put a little promo there about the Last Chance Weekend because it is still happening. It is still an opportunity for you to get in and experience the transformation and healing that you have been longing for and looking for in your relationship. So you need to call. You need to call and reach out because guess what? It's still happening. May look a little different, but it's still happening. You can still join. You can still connect and get to connect with Hassani, Danielle, and the rest of the Couples Academy team. And we are here for you. We definitely want to continue strengthening these relationships and getting you guys to that next level, wherever it is that you desire to be. And then also, if you saw Hassani talking about the Foundry there, I'm sure if you are a regular Couples Academy watcher, viewer, you hear us talking about Foundry all the time. And I want to know, Jeff, what's going on with Foundry? Like, do you guys have any type of retreat? Because, you know, the ladies, we're coming full force. Like, we're bringing that heat and we're ready for our retreat next month. But what's going on with Foundry?
We wanted to make sure you ladies had a great time first before we started running our mouths. You know what I mean? So we are going to do one. It's coming in January. And we'll be announcing that as soon as everybody's booked up for the Unearthed retreat. So it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
So you sure like this retreat isn't happening because you're jealous about like what the ladies are doing?
No, they were planned at the same time. It's just, you know, ladies first. Ladies first. You know, all gentlemen.
Right. I appreciate that. Ladies first. Thank you. All right. So we see that some of you actually have dropped some comments in here and some questions. So let's jump on that. Listen, the first one that came through, I was super excited because Michelle says, what do you think about long distance relationships? And guess what? All 3 of us have participated in long distance relationships at some point in our lives. So I'm going to pivot to I want to pivot to you, Jeff, first. I want to pivot to you first, Jeff, and then I'll let you weigh in, Walter, because again, you both have experience with long distance relationships. So go ahead. Any tips?
Yeah. I literally married her. Look, long distance relationships are actually pretty natural. This is not something new and phenomenon because social media happened. In the old days, people used to write letters, and a lot of times the marriages were arranged, and these letters would be written back to see if there's even any kind of compatibility. And if you could find the most romantic stories ever from people who never saw each other till the day they got married, they fell in love through the letters that were written. And so it is absolutely 100% possible. Like I said, my wife, she was from the Dominican Republic. She was visiting her family in Philadelphia. I was living in North Carolina. I saw her in a picture and said, that's going to be my wife. 7 months later, we were married, and I had to learn a language for her. So I believe in long distance relationships if both parties are willing to put in the work and both parties are willing to stop lying. It's the same key in a long distance relationship as it is to any other relationship. be willing to work through things, communicate very well, and don't lie.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually met my wife on a trip. I was a student in Tallahassee, and she was living in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Excuse me, where was she living?
She was living in West Palm Beach,
The
Florida.
best city in Florida?
Well, I didn't lose my life when I was down there, but I actually met my wife and we started dating. And to Jeff's point, absolutely, we're probably one of the last of that generation where we actually have physical handwritten letters between the two of us. We both have a box. She has a box of letters from me. I have a box of letters from her. And this was right before the technology boom where everybody started to get a computer and had access to email and things of that nature. So at the risk of sounding like the old man, as it relates to long distance relationships in this day and age, you have a lot more tools and services and resources available to you to really connect with your partner. And so it's important to utilize that to your advantage, but that is not going to substitute for the opportunity that you have to strengthen communication between the two of you. So making sure that you're intentional, making sure you set aside time, and also making sure that you're being effective in how you're communicating with your long distance partner. But what I will say too, it will let you know what you have between you, because you don't necessarily have the everyday day-to-day distractions of seeing one another, which also is a benefit as well, that can often cloud who you all really are. So when you just have those words, when you just have the person on the screen, it really helps you to kind of figure and filter through a lot of what it is that exists between you.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is just make sure that you have clear expectations of one another, that you have boundaries, that you have guidelines, like what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. You guys have to have that conversation, and don't be reactive, be proactive in having those conversations about your expectations for how you're going to govern yourselves behaviorally while you are long distance. All right. So KW says, how to get husband to understand the value of intimacy. I know a lot of men aren't naturally romantic, but I've communicated my need for it. What is the possible compromise or solution? So for me, there is no compromise when it comes to intimacy. You're saying you have a need for it and you say that you need it. Now, one thing that I do want to kind of chime in on also is that you say a lot of men aren't naturally romantic. So here's the situation. You're talking about intimacy and you're talking about romance. Those can, in his mind, are probably two totally different things, and they are two totally different things. So have you clearly defined for yourself, before you even taken it to your husband, what your expectations of him are regarding intimacy, regarding romance? Because if you have not done that, he may be unclear about what it is that you actually want and desire from him. So that's my take. You guys want to chime in?
Yeah. The idea that men are not naturally romantic, I'm going to tell you that most people are not naturally romantic. It's learned. It can be learned through watching television. It can be learned through being around other people who are not, like, you're in a naturally romantic couple, you're going to see that naturally. It could also be part of your personality if you're a more outgoing person. But I'm going to tell you, romance is typically learned. And if a man hasn't had an example in his life to show him how to do it, or even a woman in his life to show him how to do it, because I actually learned romance from women, um, it has to become something innate within him. Everybody wants connection. Romance is just a way, it's a playful way. It really is just a playful way to create that connection. It's a way to show you care beyond just your words. Oh, going the wrong way. Beyond just your words, of just communicating what's actually in your head. You're trying to craft and create in a very rhetorical way. When I use the word rhetoric, I'm not using like people mean it today. I mean it in the word that it's an influential way. You're trying to have someone that knows how to touch your heart and not just your mind, but both. And it is learned. I'm going to tell you, it was definitely learned for me. I am the classic 80s movie. Do you remember those 80s movies where the nerd would get picked on by all the bullies, and then some tough guy reject what came along and taught him how to do things? That is literally my story, just the black version of it. Like, cool guy came along. He's like, man, you got to get rid of them glasses, and had me get contacts. He's like, you dress funny. And he had me dressed. And he taught me how to play basketball. And he taught me how to rap. He taught me how to dance and all this kind of stuff. It is definitely a trained trait if you're not in an environment where it naturally happens. So it can be learned. If he's willing, if you can have that conversation, I should create a class for this because the guys in my group, in my Foundry group, keep asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Do that.
Yeah.
like we were joking around about calling it like how to be a player with your wife, like how not
Mhm.
to play with other people, like just to concentrate on your one boo and like turn that playfulness that got you together in the first place typically into a habit. And it seems like men lose every ounce of game after they've been married for a while. And I'm telling you, what makes the relationship fun is when you have game and you're 20 years in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Walter, listen, I know this is your wheelhouse, so I definitely need to hear from you. Come on, what you got
Yeah,
for
no,
the
I was
ladies?
just going to piggyback on that, Jeff, and cosign. Absolutely, there needs to be a workshop for men as it relates to intimacy. And I also think that a good question here is, are you aware of the various forms of intimacy? Because it sounds like there may be, for KW, it sounds like there may be a disconnect as it relates to when you're talking about intimacy. Obviously, you're talking about physical intimacy. But for him, the intimidation there, it may be because not only does he not know how to do it, but maybe he is being effective in another area of intimacy, and being able to identify that would allow him to transpose some of those skills and some of the positive things that he's doing, maybe on the spiritual side, maybe on the emotional side, into the physical side. So I would recommend definitely looking at the other forms of intimacy if you're not familiar with him, and figuring out maybe he's effective in another area, and then revisiting that conversation after encouraging him in some of the areas that he may be potentially strong in.
Yeah, no, I love that. And honestly, there was a show. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called SOS, Saving Our Sex Lives One Bedroom at a Time. And we literally went through the 6 types of intimacy. So go back, go on to YouTube, Couples Academy page, go to SOS and look at the 6 types of intimacy. See if he'll watch it with you. And that way, to your point, Walter, maybe he doesn't, or maybe you're not identifying the other ways that he is trying to be intimate with you because it doesn't look like what you want it to look like or what you're expecting it to look like. So definitely see if he'll watch that show with you. I think it might really, really be helpful for you guys. All right. Lisa says, what can I do to show my husband how much I see a change in him for the good? He's been watching the show occasionally. I've got my husband back. Yes, give me some ideas. All right, let's go. Jeff, take that one.
But what can she do to show her husband she sees a change? I would honestly, well, let's put it this way. I would actually have a conversation with him about it. There's a billion ways you could do it, but just sitting there having a conversation about what he needs, what he wants, what he desires in a relationship would lead you to a better understanding of how to take his transformation and turn it into something that both of you, because really in the beginning of a relationship, we're going well beyond to find out what that other person wants, needs, and desires. And so I would treat the relationship like it's brand new and explore each other's desires, and what you can accommodate, and that'll show them, like at some particular point, it doesn't have to be expressed because it's literally just how you're living. And that goes without saying. I mean, I remember waking up this morning and I'm standing out on the balcony in our apartment here in Orlando, and I looked in the window to my wife, and she's just sitting there looking back at me, and she's smiling. That smile let me know that I was doing something all right. And so it can just be expressed in nonverbal communication in ways, just encouragement, smile, standing there, just looking in each other's eyes again. That connection that just doesn't happen after kids, after you recreate those experiences, and you're going to find that just like that, just standing there looking in each other's eyes for a few minutes, and that loving, caring look will bring it back instantly. And it's just known. It's just known.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is also a great opportunity to activate your knowledge of the love languages. As far as with being able to encourage him that you see the change and really speaking to him in his love language. So my top 2 for me are physical touch and gifts. And so one of the things my wife started doing a few years ago is she would just walk up to me and put her hands on my heart. like something very simple, just like Jeff was saying. And it wasn't necessarily her having to say anything, but because she was communicating to me in my language, like that made such a huge impact. And so those nonverbal cues, and what it also shows your husband is that you pay attention to him. And that you're mindful of the things that are positive triggers for him. And that's something that went as far as with husbands, just like wives, we want to be seen. We want to know that you see us, that you know us, that you understand us. And those type of nonverbal gestures will really go a long way in allowing him to feel that.
What I'm hearing you guys say, and what I'm 100% agreeing with, is that it sounds like you need to change your behavior. And what I mean by that is, you said, how can I show my husband how much I see a change in him for the good? So you change your behavior for the good. Do some things that maybe you have not done previously. Like Walter said, speak his love language. Just a smile. So you know your husband better than us. What are those things that warm his heart? What are those things that make him feel secure and confident, and just reassure him and let him know that you appreciate him? So to your point, Walter, like my husband's primary love language is acts of service. So I get active. I start doing more things, you know what I mean, that I know are going to make him feel good and make him happy and make him feel loved. So you have to be able to identify those things, again, that makes your husband feel loved and valued and appreciated and supported. And as long as you're doing that, and then every now and again throw in I see you're doing a good job and I appreciate it. I mean, I think that's sufficient. All right. So, Walter, this is for you. Morning. My previous question was too long, so I'm sending again. What is the advice you can give a wife whose husband has a hard time with his own emotions and sharing his emotions and feelings?
So really what it is about just having a non-threatening conversation about things that are not necessarily directly related to emotions and feelings. Meeting him exactly where he is when it comes to content and topics that he likes to discuss is a really good starting place. Oftentimes the challenge is we want to start right into an area that is uncomfortable for people to talk about, where it's really more effective where what does he like to talk about? What are some of the things that even if he doesn't talk a lot, that you will find that he gets going, and then allowing yourself to partner with him in those conversations. And what you'll find is that as that connection and that intimacy is built and you genuinely wanting to hear his thoughts and opinions, it'll broaden his ability to talk about some of these other areas and things that you want to get into, but he's not going to go there until he sees and hears that you're interested in hearing and about the things that he's interested in.
Well, there it is. All right. Jeff, good morning. My wife is not being compassionate with my triggers. She thinks I can control them and I can't. How do I explain this to her so that she can understand?
Oh boy, here we go. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Come on, Jeff.
All right. So you need to learn how to control your triggers. Period. Because I'm going to depends on where those triggers come from, first of all. Okay. Because sometimes we're using this word triggers for acting up, bad behavior. Yeah. Like we're dragging things from our childhood into our present. And some of those things were extremely traumatic. I mean, I've heard some of the worst stories in the world. Like my parents ran a program where there were like kids kept in cages and used in porno rings. That's about as extreme as it gets. But when you have triggers like that, you're going to carry them for a long time. You're going to feel things. But feeling something inside that's negative and how you express yourself when you feel something negative are two different things. And so we don't get to use our past. If you're currently going through a trauma, it's one thing. I work with a lot of guys with PTSD, okay? And they go to some really dark places because they've seen and even done some really dark things. But I don't give them a pass on their behavior in public or their behavior with their spouses and their children especially. Mm-hmm. Because those traumatic experiences can end up in the some of them, I don't even want to describe on air some of the dark things I've heard men do that have gone through PTSD where they've almost killed their families. If they don't learn how to manage their expressions, it can go down a dark rabbit hole very, very quick. And so I will say, especially for you, if you're going through a lot of triggers and you have these traumas, whether it was initiated by your wife or whether it was initiated by your childhood, you really, really should consider Foundry and maybe even some other programs as well. Because I don't necessarily think that you need to control the fact that you're triggered, but you may need to control how you act when you're triggered. My wife will tell you I was a verbal assassin. I would get triggered by things that she said, and I would express myself in the most hurtful ways. She doesn't have to put up with that just because I had childhood trauma. I had to learn how to overcome it. So I'm going to leave it right there.
That's good, Jeff. And you know what? One of the things, because the majority of our couples that are here and people that are watching, they have dealt with betrayal. They've dealt with infidelity. And a lot of times they will use that, for lack of better words. I mean, no disrespect, but will use that as a way to continue in their bad behavior. And you can't. Like, you still have to be in control of your behavior. So spot on, Jeff. Microphone drop. If I had Hassani's switchboard, I would just drop a bomb for you, but just pretend I did it, okay? All right, so we're going to move on because Angel has like a 3-part question. It's a really good one, and I think that a lot of you will benefit from this. So part 1, what is the best way to deal with my husband's affair partner when she is his kid's mother, and now they have 2 kids together, one from the affair and one previous child before we were married? I want him to have the best relationship with his children, but she refuses to let them around me. They live in another state, and I don't feel comfortable with him traveling without me. My husband stands firm on not going through the court system for visitation, but has boundaries set. So I'm going to jump in, and then you guys can chime in with whatever you want. Angel, he may have some boundaries set, but they're not the right boundaries. There is no way on God's green earth this man should allow anybody to prevent you from being around his children. Because when you guys became one, whatever children you had prior to you're a package deal. You all come together. So the wife, or baby mama, ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, whatever her title is, she does not have authority over your household. And the only way she's allowing this man to see his children is if you are around. That is unacceptable, because you're going to be in his life indefinitely. And so what it sounds like is she's using these children to still control your husband. And that is, again, that cannot stand. So I get that he may not want to go to court. Okay, that's fine. But he's got to get, I'm just saying that's what I think he should do. But if he's refusing to go, that's fine. That means that he's going to have to get that mother of his children in alignment, because this cannot continue for you to not be around his children. They're your children as well. So, all right, let's go to my on the screen. Walter, you're on my left. So I'll go to you first. And then Jeff, if you want to jump in, you can jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that, going through the legal system, I know for a lot of people isn't necessarily preferred, but in order to have structure and to make sure that there's order in your marriage, you're going to need a more robust, definitive system. And it sounds like what they have in place isn't sufficient right now. And what I also want to add, that it is important. I'm not sure the ages of the children, but it sounds like, either young children or young marriage, this is going to persist. If you don't get a handle on it now, this is something that is only going to get worse over time. Oftentimes people believe that, things will get better. Things don't get better by themselves over time. It doesn't work that way. You have to institute a system right now that is going to be a reflection of your values and your principles, so that as you move forward, the mother of the children knows what she can expect, and she's going to have to acquiesce to those things, whether she likes it or not. And usually the legal system is the best way to do that. But otherwise, it sounds like you also need to have a courageous conversation with your husband that is not just centered on your emotions and how you feel about the situation, but it has to be a comprehensive conversation about how this is impacting your marriage and how this is impacting your relationship with his children / your children. And ultimately, when you talk about the children getting older, they are going to see, understand, and feel all of this, and it's going to be detrimental to their ability to be functioning adults as well. So this is just, again, you all got to get this together right now.
Yep.
I'm going to say simply that he's not establishing boundaries, because when you set boundary lines, that means you have some kind of say and control. He doesn't. He's giving you the illusion of boundaries. But there will be moments where that will all collapse. What I'm simply saying to you is that he may not want to go through the courts. I understand not going through the courts, but you should be engaging lawyers to come up with an agreement on how this is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen that way, then you go to the courts, and you should put your foot down on this, because at the end of the day, if he's going out of town to visit and spend time with his kids, there should be a drop-off point, a pickup point. There shouldn't be him going to the house and picking up or any of that. There should be no miscommunication to those children that there's still a relationship there, because I will tell you, not every woman will do this, but some women will do this. Some men will do this, will try to create the illusion that everything's okay with their children in the hopes that they're going to get that man back or that woman back. And I've seen it over and over and over again where the games are played. And the easiest way to establish that is get a legal document establishing the boundaries. And maybe you're not allowed to be around those kids right now, but that doesn't mean you can't travel with him when he goes out of state and stay in the hotel. He goes, picks the kids up, he spends the time with them, then he drops them off.
Agreed. There's no way you should be prevented from being around these children unless you have done something in your past that legally you can't be around children. That's the only exception. Just one more question before we go. Do couples ever sponsor other couples for the Last Chance weekend? Yes. Have you ever had churches, marriage ministries to sponsor couples? I'm not sure. That's a Hassani question. And I do agree this would be a great idea for churches. So reach out, call, have a conversation with Hassani. He'll be able to walk you through the details of all of that.
Better.
Go ahead.
Have a conversation with your church.
Yes.
We'll work with y'all. Just give us a call. We'll work with y'all. Like, we just need, it'd be impossible for Hassani to reach out to every single church that y'all go to. But if you guys decide that you want to have a conversation with your church and you want to become a part of Couples Academy in some kind of way, we'll come out. We'll work with you. I'm in Jersey. So anybody in Jersey, you get your church involved. We'll get out there. We'll come out and we'll speak. I ain't looking for no money from speaking at a church. We just come out and out of love, at least. You know what I'm saying? So if it's in our local area and it's easy, reach out to your church. If they want to start a community group that's actually going to help people go through these programs, then great. Let's do that. Let's get those love offerings together and let's put it together so it can cover the operational expenses of what it takes to do that. Because we have 8 counselors doing all weekend long, working with individual couples and really getting in deep. We feed, we house.
We
everything.
feed you real good. Remember, I'm motivated by food, so
So it is a little bit of an expense, but at the end of the day, what we want you to do is reach out to your church, build a community within your church of couples. Reach out to us on how you can get information and things that you guys can do, and we'd be glad to work with you.
Yeah, Couples Academy is built upon and is dedicated to building up individuals and couples and the families. And doesn't that sound like the church? Doesn't that sound like the work of the church? So just as Jeff and Keisha are mentioning, please get in contact with us, at least have a conversation to see how we could potentially partner together, because that is exactly what we're here for.
Absolutely. And if you go to couplesacademy.org, there is an ambassador program. So if that's something that you personally are interested in or know someone that's interested in, absolutely, please sponsor couples. We have couples reach out all the time. They want to come, they can't afford it. And we don't want to turn anybody away. We want everybody to get this good stuff, this healing, this transformation. We want everyone to experience what it is that we all have to offer. So again, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you for tuning in. We will see you next week. Listen, be sure to get more information about Foundry. You can see me on Tuesdays, 9 p.m. for SOS. And Walter?
Yes, every Wednesday night. Before I do, if you are dating, want to be married, don't know if you want to be married, or know someone that is considering marriage, be sure to check out Charmaine and I each and every single Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Before I Do.
All right, you guys, have a wonderful weekend. Bye.